talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we're talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we're talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking? Tonight, let me tell you about Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers, one of the, if not the nicest person in the entire universe. But I got to tell you, there's a lot of creepy, weird stuff about the beginning of his life. I'm talking, it'll just make you go, what? That's kind of, anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. These are free things. They only cost you a click. You can do them easily. I know you have a large network of influential, intelligent friends. Please tell them about the show. Why should you be the only one having a bad time? And then also we do have memberships. We do have super chats. Super chats, of course, you decide the denomination. YouTube gets 30%. Memberships, $2.99 a month. That's substantially less than you paid for the leading brand, if there is indeed a leading brand. And also there's PayPal, which I get all of it. You give all of it. We all go away happy. We all walk away happy. And then our merch store at thetomgullyshow.com, featuring our new Skunt collection from our good friend Skunt. And that they're selling like hotcakes, man. We can't. They're flying out the door. Let's get through a few of your comments before I tell you about, and you're going to be shaking your head about some of the stuff I'm going to tell you about Fred Rogers, especially early on. It's all like this. It's not like this. It's all up in this. Okay, let's see. Chris is here. He says, let's go. Hey, Tom, who doesn't love Mr. Rogers? Nobody. Well, that's true. Despite says, won't you be my neighbor, Tom? I'm actually everybody's neighbor. Sky is here. I have a bunch of questions for Sky involving technology that I'll be trying to find him for later. I tried to find him this weekend, but he was playing video games. Let's see here. Johnny Brooks is here. That's pretty great. Let's see. James from Ottawa. I saw him on an all-night streaming show all weekend, pretty much, and said hello to him. Chris says, I hope Pervitine is somehow related to the Mr. Rogers story. I love that stuff. It's only tangentially related. But there's, I mean, if you really, but not very much. No, not Mr. Rogers. The very same. Julian Zeezer is here. Julian Zeezer made me laugh uncontrollably last week. And that hasn't happened on this show in a long time. James from Ottawa says, Mr. Rogers and Bob Ross, nicest people in the world. I used to work with and for one of those people. Good evening, my fellow Gully Maniacs. See, we have a new name because there's Gullerinos, Gully Gang. Let's see, Gullerinos, Gully Gang, Gully Heads, and now Gully Maniacs. LC, good old LC from Australia. Listen, Shawnee. Okay, enough of that. Yes, the Gully Heads. They can be Gully Maniacs. I don't care. I'm not coming up with any of these names. I have no control over them. They're all up to you. Hey, let's get to talking about our very good friend Fred Rogers. I don't really like this picture of him, but I'm going to show it anyway. He looks, I don't know. There's just something about it. Looks like he just did something evil. But anyway. Okay, Fred Rogers. That's him right there. Mr. Rogers right there, that guy. Okay, his full name, this is where the weird stuff starts, is Fred McFeely Rogers. Now, if you followed the Mr. Rogers Neighborhood TV show, you know that Mr. McFeely, Speedy Delivery, was the name of one of his characters, okay? And you will find that names from his life tend to make it into his show, okay? But this McFeely thing, emphasis on the Feely, because let me tell you, there's about to be some weird Feely stuff coming up with that name. So he was born in 1928 in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Nothing wrong with that. I'm assuming several people were. His dad was James Rogers, who he described as, and incidentally, it's hard to do a show about Mr. Rogers and write the stuff down without doing it in his voice, but his dad was a very successful businessman. Do you know what a businessman is? Anyway, his dad, James Rogers, was president of none other than the McFeely Brick Company. Keep in mind, Fred Rogers' middle name is McFeely, okay? And the McFeely Brick Company was one of the biggest and most successful things going in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, and was founded a quarter of a century before Fred Rogers was even born. His mother's name was Nancy. And she was the salt of the earth, knitted sweaters for soldiers during World War I and volunteered at the Latrobe Hospital. And she wanted to be a doctor, but she just settled for becoming a volunteer at the hospital. Now, her father and her maiden name is McFeely. So his dad is the president of the McFeely Brick Company. Her father started the McFeely Brick Company. See where I'm going here? You see where I'm going? Let's just follow along here. Let's see here. You've got, pretend this isn't the spoon of gloom. Pretend this isn't a spoon of gloom. This is the McFeely Brick Company, all right? Right here. And then you got Roger's dad, I'd have to draw a diagram. You got Roger's dad, who's president of the McFeely Brick Company. And you got Roger's mom, who's the daughter of the owner of the McFeely Brick Company. Fred Rogers' dad was doing the horizontal limbo with the boss's daughter. That's what we got going on here. And then they make Fred Rogers' middle name McFeely. Well, let me tell you what. Fred Rogers' dad, James Rogers, pretty McFeely, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying when I'm telling you that there was a lot of these going on. Okay, so he grows up in this giant house because his dad was a very successful businessman. They grew up in this big 3-story house in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, made of, well, of course, it had to be made of brick now, didn't it? And he had a sister named Elaine. She was adopted, but Elaine, now if you remember the show, Lady Elaine Fairchild. Again, more people getting named in his silly... Okay, there you go. Fred Rogers spent the vast majority of his childhood playing by himself. Okay? Because his sister got adopted when he was 11. He's way too old to play with her. And he spent time with his grandfather, but most of his childhood, he played by himself with puppets and started to make voices for the puppets, and the puppets were talking to each other. You know what I'm saying? All right. He also started playing the piano when he was 5, which will crop up later. But his childhood, and I think to his credit, this is the reason that he had such a kinship for trying to help children with their feelings and getting through the tough job of being a kid. His childhood sucked. He was very shy. He was a Richie Rich kid. He was introverted, and he was overweight. They called him Fat Freddy, okay? And he had asthma, so he had to stay home a lot. So he's sickly and fat and at home. And his childhood was very, very lonely. So he made friends with these imaginary friends that he created in his head. You know what I mean? And he had a ventriloquist dummy and he had stuffed animals and he would create all of these worlds in his head in the land of make-believe, if you know what I'm saying. So there is maybe the germination of how Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood came to be, was that he was just kind of and stuff. But all of that kind of changed when he went to Latrobe High School, okay? And he started to overcome his shyness because when he first got there, he said it was difficult for him, but he made a couple of friends, and it was due to what he called the head of the football team. Now, I'm looking at Fred Rogers here. By the way, here he is in his high school graduation picture at Latrobe High School. Does he look like a guy that doesn't know that it's not the head of the football team, it's the captain of the football team? I mean, does he look like one of those guys? Because he looks like one of those guys to me. Not really the head of the football team, very definitely the captain of the football team. But once the captain of the football team became his friend and kind of took him into a circle of people that thought, Fat Freddy, he's a pretty good guy, really. He didn't want to hurt nobody. I mean, occasionally he uses one of the hamburgers in his lunch to talk to and as a character or whatever, but he's not bad. So he eventually, at Latrobe High School, becomes president of the student council, becomes a member of the National Honor Society, and he was the editor-in-chief of the school yearbook. What do you think about that? What do you think about that for old Fred Rogers? Look at that fella right there. There's a man, and he's the son of the president of the McFeely Brick Company. He just had to have girls just dripping off his arms. So, Fred, how long have you been the president of the brick company? Can we go see where they smelt the bricks? Okay. So why don't we go through a few of your comments, because we're about to get to another. Well, no, let's do this right now, because we got to put something to bed right now, right here and right now, okay? There's this myth that Fred Rogers was in special forces in World War II and, he had all these kills in the field. It's not true. He registered for the draft in 1948 at the age of 20 years old. He was classified as 1A, best you can get for military service, but then it was changed to unqualified following his physical a few months later. He attended Dartmouth, which is a very Ivy League school, before he transferred down to Florida to a very small school called Rollins College, where he graduated magna cum laude in 1951 with a Bachelor of Music. Probably learned to play the piano. And then after that, and the truth is, Fred Rogers was a pastor. He attended Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, magna cum laude there too, in 1962 with a Bachelor in Divinity. He was ordained as a Presbyterian minister in 1963, and his work as an ordained minister, rather than to pastor a church, was ministering to children and families through television. He saw television as a great way to achieve all these goals that he had. And please keep in mind, in the early 50s, when he first graduated college, not a lot of TV going on. There was some, it was growing, but and he kept his status updated throughout the years. So let's get to some of your comments. Incidentally, the story about Mr. Rogers being Special Forces, many people attribute that urban legend to the fact that the guy who played Captain Kangaroo, Bob Keesham, was a badass in World War II. And I think it was Lee Marvin or Walter Cronkite, one of the two, that said the bravest man I ever saw was Sergeant Keesham. Captain Kangaroo, if you see him, idea for another show. Captain Kangaroo was a bad mamma jamma in the war. There we go, Captain Kangaroo. All right, let's get some of your comments real quick. I'd like to see some of your comments. Gene1313 says, hey, Mr. Gulley and all Gulley heads. Hello, Gene. Always nice to see you. Team Brittany, who I know from another streaming show online, way more popular than this one for obvious reasons. First of all, I think Brittany would agree, that person is photogenic. I am not. We can stop it right there. There's 57 other reasons, but that right there, right out of the gate. She says, won't you be my neighbor? Brittany, I would be glad to be your neighbor, and I'm really everybody's neighbor. Barnabas is here, says howdy. Howdy, Barnabas. How are you? Johnny Brooks asks the somewhat paranoid yet just careful, I think, question of why does one family need so damn many bricks? Yes. Johnny Costa's story is interesting. Well, yes, it is. I don't really know what that is. I think I know what that is, but I don't know for sure what that is. It could be a different story. It's hard to say. Terry comes in here. Of course, he's older than the rest of us, so he could mean Julius Rosa. He could mean a lot of different things. Sky says, I bet having a name like that hurt his McFeelings. Terry Nee says, Pennsylvania has all the best people. That is so not true. And I don't know. After all the creepy stuff I just told you about, I don't know if that's... It has some... let's see. Lady Elaine Fairchild. Yes, Gene1313. Wow, that really paid off later. Oh, look at this, Johnny. Kind of like when Tom Gulley created the Dabbleverse. I did not create the Dabbleverse. Here's how you know how. It's not in my own image and likeness. I keep getting blamed for it, but I didn't. If I created it, I would destroy it. Chess Club Captain was his look. It is kind of his look, isn't it? Most likely to own closet full of sweaters. Oh, we'll get to his sweaters later. And if it wasn't 90 degrees in Dallas today, I was going to wear a sweater or a sweat jacket and put it on because he did. Looks like Charles Stanley was there. That was Bob Ross. Yes, I did work on The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross. It's one of my big claim to fame. He was too underweight for the military or too intelligent. Well, that's the thing, is it doesn't say. And it smacks to me of somebody with deep pockets from the McFeely Brick Company went, here's a few bucks. Can we keep Rogers out of the... I don't know. Jared's here, says happy to be here. Mike is already started on destroying it. Mike who? There's so many Mikes. Let me see here. Whoops, a daisy. I can type fast. I really can. Well, wasn't Johnny Costa the musical director of the thing? I think he was. Somewhere there's music. Somewhere I lie, somewhere there's music. Hey, Fred, come on over. Actually, some of the music on Mr. Rogers, kind of like the Charlie Brown music, is really pretty good jazz. It's a little low-key jazz. I like it. Let's see here. Terry Nee, music. Bob Ross show next. You want me to do the Bob Ross show? Oh, man. I'm going to have to tell you all my experiences of Bob Ross. All my Bob Ross. Every starting song was different. I know. I like the episode where they went into Foggy Mountain Breakdown right at the very end while he's doing his sweaters. Okay, so Rogers wanted to enter the seminary immediately after college, but he saw television at, like his parents got one in 1951. And of course, you know the reason they got one is they had those mad McFeely Brick Company bucks just flowing in the front door, right? And so they were one of the Richie Rich families that got, I think, I was talking to my old man, and their first TV, and I know theirs wasn't purchased in 1951, was like a 9-inch screen. It was not a big, and people huddled around it and whatnot. But he was in his senior year at Rollins College down there in Florida, really small college. I think this day, it's only got like 3,000 students. My high school has 5,000. And Mr. Rogers went into TV not because he loved it, but because he hated it. He thought it was being used improperly. He thought that there was a tremendous potential there to do good things with it. And he thought everybody else was doing evil. Is the FCC watching? Crap. He thought they were doing crap, okay? So what's he do? And maybe somebody at the McFeely Brick Company pulled a few strings. He goes to work at NBC in New York City. And he wasn't a writer, and he wasn't an actor at first. He was the floor director, okay, of some big shows. And a floor director, if you've ever seen movies and they've got an old TV studio, and floor director is the guy that's on the floor where they're actually shooting stuff. There's a control room. It's way back there. See, I'm pointing at it. And the control room would tell the floor director what to do if they needed a camera pushed in or they needed a set prop. Anything that was happening actually on the floor, he was in charge of making it right. And I don't know about you, Mr. Rogers strikes me as the type that might be just a skosh anal retentive, and that's a good quality for that particular job. But the shows that he did were gigantic shows. Two of them especially. He was the floor director of Your Hit Parade, which was a musical show. So they had different musicians and singers and things coming in, singing the popular songs of the day. The Kate Smith Hour, I think in Philadelphia, they still play, or used to play, the Kate Smith recording of the Star Spangled Banner. Kate Smith was an extremely popular singer. There was a TV show which was hosted by a famous old cowboy cowboy character actor called Gabby Hayes. He was a floor director of that, but most importantly, he was the assistant producer of a show called The Voice of Firestone. And most of, if you don't know, these shows were sponsored, and a lot of times the sponsor was in the name. The Voice of Firestone was classical music. So he was the assistant producer of that with his musical background. All right. So he did that for a few years. And then he goes back to Pittsburgh. And he worked as a guy that developed programs for a public TV station, which we could get into that. Well, there's another show topic, public TV. By the way, there's not going to be public TV pretty damn quick, so pretty much no public radio anymore. He went to a place called WQED, and for anybody that's watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, WQED should be really, really familiar to you because it's in the credits at the start. And so he was developing programs for WQED. One of the first of those programs was this one here. It was called The Children's Corner. And there he is with Josie Carey, which is, I guess, that lady there. And they're in the attic in Children's Corner. Over her shoulder is Daniel the Striped Tiger. And just to the right of Mr. Rogers, you see him holding it, there is King Friday the 13th. So you're seeing a little bit of the beginning of some of the characters on his show on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, right? There you go. By the way, Daniel the Striped Tiger was named after the station manual, Dorothy Daniel, who gave Rogers a tiger puppet before the show's premiere. Let's see. Queen Sarah Saturday was named after Mr. Rogers' wife. X the Owl, who also appeared on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Henrietta. Lady Elaine, who also showed up on Mr. Rogers. It was a show that won the Sylvania Award for Best Locally Produced Children's Program in 1955. And it was the Children's Corner was broadcast nationally on NBC. Okay? He also attended the University of Pittsburgh's Graduate School of Child Development during this time, which kind of associated him with a child psychologist named Margaret McFarland. And she was his key advisor and collaborator throughout his entire career. The way that he thought about how children should be talked to and everything else, that was kind of her inspiration. So she also helped with the scripts and some of the songs because she was the kind of gal that could tap her toe. She was a hoofer. I'm kidding. I don't know anything about that. Let's give me some more stuff here. Yes, I did work on Bob Ross. How many times can I say it? Oh, wait, I just went back too far. And who's the mic that's destroying the Dabbleverse? Why am I talking about the Dabbleverse? There's really no reason to discuss the Dabbleverse ever. He always played live. Amazing stuff. Man, you should have been there when we were ripping off those Joy of Paintings. That was... That was a business-like endeavor. And if you were the camera guy, there were only two cameras on that thing. One was the wide shot. You were locked down. You didn't even have to touch the camera. You just go in there, frame it up, lock it down. You were done. And then the other one was a little more difficult. It's the one that we called it the pan camera, but we never really panned with it. You would focus in on what he was doing, or you would get him in a tighter shot. That one you actually had to do a little work. So because we recorded usually several shows in one day, you'd switch back and forth so that one guy didn't get hosed the whole time with having to. And that show was also shot in kind of this, I'll tell you when we do the Bob Ross show. Doom says Mr. Rogers loved the Dabbleverse. No, he was on... If Mr. Rogers was alive, God, he would hate the Dabbleverse. All of the mockery of people and making up of stories and just belligerent slap fight, juvenile, low IQ stupidity. He would not like the Dabbleverse at all. Although he probably would have made a few songs for it. Every starting song was different. I did not know that. You mean the beginning that that's different every time? Doesn't sound different to me. But I know the transitions were probably always different. Remember when he said, let's go to the land of make-believe, and then the trolley would play, and then I know a lot of the music was different. And it was good stuff. It's like I always wanted the music to continue. Hey, man, hey, cats, come on. Yeah, it was good piano-based, nice entertainment. Please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. All the free things, they're free. You don't have to pay anything, which I know is near and dear to most of your hearts. I don't know whether the people who watch my show are just smart and therefore unemployable. I maybe just a lot of skin flints, $2.99 a month memberships, super chats at your discretion. There's the merchandise store, top quality name brand items, sure to add a charm and glow to any room. And then there's PayPal, which you give it all, I get it all. But so if you can't do any of those things that require to reach deep into your pocket, which not very deep, please like, share, subscribe. Okay, please. Could you do me that solid? That'd be nice. He went crazy trying to make the perfect brick. I'm sure he had access to a lot of really good bricks. Is the floor director on the floor directing? He is. He is. Especially if he's had too many. Is that true Doom? No, it's not. Doom clips the truth. I guess he does. I assume he does. I don't watch the whole shows of things that he clips, but he's become quite popular for clipping things. Mr. Rogers taught me I could put peanut butter and jelly on a waffle. Yeah, it's good. It is good. Jared, I've had both of those. I've had just plain peanut butter. I've had jelly. I've had peanut butter jelly. Both. It is. Why did you do that right in the middle of the show? I am starving right now, but it's okay. 3 Earl Campbell hot and cheddar sausages wait me after I'm done with this. The puppets. Yes, the puppets. The puppets. He kept the weight of 143 pounds for a reason. Is that a myth? Well, I don't know. Let's find out. How much did Fred Rogers weigh? He looked like he didn't weigh much more than a corn nubbin. Okay, here we go. Mr. Fred Rogers, weighed 143 pounds for the last 30 years of his life, a weight he maintained through daily swimming and a disciplined, healthy lifestyle. The specific number was significant to him as it represents the number of letters in the phrase, I love you, a message he often used to care for others. You know, Mr. Rogers, I don't want to start any nonsense here. I don't want us to have to throw down. But it doesn't contain 143 letters. Oh, it represents the number of letters. I being 1, 4 being love, you being 3. Okay. And he used the number 143 to communicate that whole thing. He avoided activities that could affect his weight, such as smoking, drinking, eating meat, and having sex with women. No, I'm kidding. And watching television. Watching the TV. Gil, man, I read that about him because, man, I love you. You're dead on. Team Brittany. High fives to Team Brittany there. High fives. Starving Tom, they call him. I am starving right now. I'm always starving when I do the show. There we go. Michaela, good to see you. Bob Sphincter, not posting that particular comment. Thank you. Bob Sphincter, is that your name or is that just like a pastime? Okay, so Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, only a half an hour an episode, started airing in 1968, ran for 895 episodes. It was videotaped there at WQED, broadcast by the Public Broadcasting Service. Not system, service. It's not a system. It's a service. The very first season of that show had 180 black and white episodes. The subsequent ones were filmed in color, and they were funded by PBS, and Sears Roebuck gave them a lot of monies, and other charities. The following seasons had 65 episodes. And, there you go. There you go. Many of the sets and the props in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, including the trolley and the sneakers and the castle, were created in Toronto by the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And so, the format was unchanged throughout the entire run. He came in, camera's eye view of a model of the neighborhood, then panned closer to his supposed house. Piano's playing an instrumental, Won't You Be My Neighbor? Johnny Costa actually was playing the tune there, as well as being the music editor for the show. And zooms in, cuts to the interior, across the room, front door. Rogers comes in, sings the theme song while he's taking off his jacket, putting on his sweater, and getting them stank-ass shoes off. And, then he would either tell you a story or he'd leave for another location. They'd go to the neighborhood of make-believe, and he'd be there by the trolley as it entered and left, and he'd work the little handle there to make it go in and out. You've seen it. He didn't give a flying hoot about learning, Fred Rogers. Oh, he was happy to tell you things, and maybe you would learn something. Here's how they make this thing. See how that big saw cuts the tree down? He didn't care about that at all. At all. He cared about developing a child's psyche and its their feelings and how their outlook on the world reflected on how they felt about themselves. That's the only thing he cared about. All the learning and stuff, he just didn't care. And he would write shows that dealt, with hardcore issues. And when I say hardcore, I mean difficult issues. I don't mean behind the green door. I'm talking about, you know what I mean? I'm not talking about Linda Lovelace. You know what I'm talking about. So he would deal with like really heavy social issues. Here's Mr. Rogers with Willie Stargell, that just a famous baseball player, Hall of Famer, that just shows from Pittsburgh, so it was easy to get him. He didn't have anything to do. It was the wintertime. What was he going to be doing? It also shows what a twig Mr. Rogers was. So he would do, like he did a special segment on the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy that aired just a couple days after the assassination. He did a show on, there was a giant social issue about people of color being able to swim in the same public pools as white people, and he legendarily had like a foot bath that he had a color barrier breaking moment with a neighbor of his. He did all of that kind of stuff. He would take on these larger social issues because he cared how kids felt about them. Okay, he really, really did. The putting together of each of these episodes was not easy. It might look easy, but it wasn't. It was very, very involved. It was very, very exacting. Mr. Rogers himself wrote and edited all the episodes. He played the piano and he sang for most of the song. He wrote 200 songs and 13 operas. He created all the characters, the human ones like, Mr. McFeely and Chef Brockett and the like. But he also created the puppets. He also played the puppet roles himself. He hosted every episode. And he just, every detail of the show, he was in charge of. He was all over it. Everything was very exacting, So there you go. There you go. In 1975, they quit producing new episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And reruns continued to air on PBS. And that was a shock to many, many, many people. But after about 5 years, he continued producing the new ones again. And he said that he felt they were stronger and better than ever. He retired from producing Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in 2001 at the age of 73, but the reruns continued and continued and continued. In 1969, he testified before the U.S. Senate Subcommittee on Communications. There was a proposal to cut $20 million out of the bill, for funding PBS. And even though he wasn't yet known nationally, he was chosen to testify because they thought he could persuade the audience. And according to many of the senators there, one in particular, it was considered one of the most powerful pieces of testimony ever offered before Congress and one of the most powerful pieces of video presentation ever filmed. It brought one of the senators, the Senate chairman for the Subcommittee on Communications, Senator John Pastore of Rhode Island, to tears. And congressional funding subsequently was doubled. So Nixon, after this, Nixon was the one that was going to cut the funding. He appointed Rogers as chair of the White House Conference on Children and Youth. So anyway, he also hosted, during that hiatus, a 30-minute interview program for adults on PBS called Old Friends, New Friends. It was really good. It had Hoagie Carmichael, Helen Hayes, Milton Berle, and the Willie Stargell up there, September of 87, he visited Moscow to appear as the first guest on the long-running Soviet children's TV show Good Night, Little Ones, with host Tatanya Vedenevya. Yes, I said that right. And he met Gorbachev and Reagan. The first time he appeared on television as an actor, and not as himself, was on a 1996 episode of Dr. Quinn Medicine Women, playing a preacher. He was very great about giving interviews, but he was very reluctant to do talk shows. He did not want children to see him outside of that particular thing that he did on TV. Now, his personal life, I'm going to get through this pretty quick. Check out that babe right there. Well, that's Sarah Joanne Bird, called Joanne. He met her down at Rollins College. She was from Jacksonville, and they were married from 1952 until he died in 2003. They had 2 sons. She was an accomplished pianist. Boy, you got to watch how you say that. And got her Bachelor of Music from Rollins. She got a master's from Florida State. According to his close associates, he was absolutely faithful to his marriage vows. Now, Mr. Rogers was a red-green colorblind individual, and he only ate seafood. He's a pescatarian. He wouldn't eat any other kind of meat. And vegetables after that. Later on, he just became a vegetarian, saying he couldn't eat anything that had a mother. Was the co-owner of the Vegetarian Times. He's a registered Republican, but he was very independent in the way he voted, didn't want to talk about politics. He wanted to be impartial. King reported that despite Rogers' family wealth, he cared very little about making money, and he lived frugally, especially as he and his wife grew older. So there you go. Even though he was a Richie Rich, dedicated lap swimmer, there you go. So Tom Hanks portrays him in the film A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which is a very different film than what you might think. And I highly recommend it. But don't see it thinking it's going to be a biography of Mr. Rogers. It's a story of a person that met Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers is in it a lot, and you learn a lot about Mr. Rogers, but it's not easy going, really. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So Mr. Rogers passed away. I would go through it February 27th, 2003, at the age of 74. I would go through all of the memorials for him. He basically died shortly after undergoing some stomach surgery. He had chronic stomach pain, and he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. So there you are. I could go through all the tributes and the legacy. They have a statue of him here that they put up in Pittsburgh. Personally, maybe he saw the statue, then he died. I don't think that that's very good of a statue. I think we could do better for him. Let's see. He said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. To this day, especially in times of disaster, I remember my mother's words, and I'm always comforted by realizing there are still so many helpers, so many caring people in this world. Yeah. There you go. There you go. There is a documentary about Mr. Rogers. It's very outstanding. It's called Won't You Be My Neighbor? It was made in 2018. Highly recommend that. So there you go. And frequently, Mr. Rogers clips are played after, like, the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting and things of that nature. They're reborn online a little bit. I would read you all of his awards. They are too many to list. People are encouraged to wear a sweater on Sweater Day, which is, the anniversary of his birthday. There's a sweater drive. He's got a postage stamp. Google Grammy Award, posthumously awarded to him for an album called The Best of Mr. Rogers. It's such a good feeling to know you're alive. It's such a happy feeling you're feeling inside. And when you wake up ready to say, I think I'll grow 10 inches today. It's such a good feeling, a very good feeling. The feeling you know that I'll be back before. Anyway, there's President George Bush awarding Fred Rogers the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which this country is the highest civilian honor that you can get. He had previously received the Presidential Medal of Honor, but that wasn't good enough. The Fred Rogers Award, which is presented by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, it's their highest award. And guess what? He was the first recipient. Maybe Terry Nee would like this one, the Pennsylvania Founders Award. He won that in 1997. Television Hall of Fame inductee, Television Hollywood Walk of Fame star, Television Critics Career Achievement Award, Lifetime Achievement Emmy, President's Distinguished Service Medal, Peabody Award, the Rollins College Walk of Fame. That one seems kind of, down the thing there. Anyway, there's too many awards. That's all I got to tell you about Fred Rogers, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I have another picture. Oh, this is the Smithsonian Institute right here. And this is Fred Rogers' sweater. And as you can see, there's some other kids' shows kind of in there. But Big Fred has one of, I'm assuming he had more than one freaking sweater over the 33 years he did that program, because that would be a pretty stank sweater over 33 years. Don't you think? I mean, don't you think that would be kind of a, you know what I'm saying? I think you know what. I don't think I need to say anymore. I think that sweater would be a little gamey. Don't you? I think that sweater would start to take on sort of a, you know what I mean? I think that sweater would eventually be kind of, I think I'm on good ground there. I don't even know why I'm asking anybody else. I think that's a pretty darn good, I think that's a pretty fair assumption, if you know what I'm saying. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell. Get your yayas out. Anything else you want to do, go ahead and do it. Oh boy, we got some excitement going on now. Let's see, I'm going to pin that. I just pinned the link, but look here, Gilman. Thank you, Gilman. And a lot of people are going to say only 99 cents. I don't say that. If everybody donated 99 cents, I'd be pooping in high cotton over here. You know, every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. Let's see here. Bob Sphincter says, this is the name my daddy gave me. Oh, that is awesome. They found out who your dad is. A human centipede. I don't think it was a human centipede. Sometimes Mr. Rogers would feed his fish. That was always the highlight of the show. It was, I remember, people would look forward to that. Now, as I think has been widely covered, am old. Very old. And when I first attended schooling at Carpenter Elementary School in Midland, Michigan, when I was in kindergarten, I don't know if it was once a week. It might have been every day, but I think it was only once a week. They would roll in this big TV, and we would get to watch, I know we watched Mr. Rogers, and then I think we watched Sesame Street after that. And it had to be at the very beginning of national broadcast because it would have been, well, I don't want to get into what year it would have been, but let's just say it was a long time ago. Let's see here. Did you get your Fred Rogers commemorative stamp sheet? I love that the United States Postal Service honored him. I did not get one of those. And Gilman, I'll tell you why I didn't get one, and it's not a secret. I just didn't like the idea of licking Fred Rogers. It's just me. Couldn't do it. Wow, I forgot about those operas. Fantastic. Yeah, he was a prolific dude. Team Brittany, who's here. Thank you, Team Brittany, for being here, even though I know the lady that we both watch is currently on the air. Maybe I shouldn't have told you that. Did they really, Gilman? I love the various stamps they used to release and still do. The last ones I got were Betty White. Oh, those would have been good. Stamps were 1 year before Betty White. Mr. Rogers, 1 year. I totally missed out on those. Yeah, my grandma used to get all the little specialty stamps, and it was always great to get an envelope from her letter from her, because there'd be something cooler. Oh, I just pinned the link to the show in the room, and you better hurry because we don't have much time left. Would love the origin story movie of Fred McFeely Rogers. Well, there is that documentary for 2018 or 2017, 2018 called Won't You Be My Neighbor? That's probably as close as you're going to get, because A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers. He's brilliant playing Mr. Rogers, but it's not really the story of Mr. Rogers. It's the story of a guy that has interactions with Mr. Rogers. I don't want to tell you more than that because I don't want to kill that story in the crib. Someone stole his car, then realized who it belonged to, then returned it. Now that is respect. Well, also on the street, if you try to fence Mr. Rogers' car, it's, hey, Lefty, you know whose car this is? It's Fred Rogers. We have to take you out back and tune you up a little bit, all right? Ooh, I know we're criminals, but for crying out loud, there's a line, all right? The Smithsonian was great, but the museum go-around was better. It was better. It's a better place. And I'll tell you, the land of make-believe, the neighborhood of make-believe, a little weird. King Friday the 13th was a pompous, oblivious, cruel, Lady Elaine Fairchild, let's just say, not a looker. Not a looker. Who was the chick on that show that was not bad looking, that was like a human that would be on there? Let me see. You know what I'm talking about? That was the other thing about that show, is they started when they were young, and by the time the series ended, they were all just sort of kicking around. Characters. Neighbor Aber, Lady Aberlin, scientists, Charles Appel. Yes, I remember Mr. Appel, teacher and musician. Chef Brockett. Chef Brockett, I'd like to. Michael Brown, Officer Clemens, yes, a police officer and trained opera singer. Let's see. Mayor Maggie, Mrs. Betsy McFeely, the wife of Mr. McFeely. David McFeely. Let's see. Debbie Neal. I'm trying to find the name of... Come on now. Who's the main chick? Remember the characters include... Well, maybe she wasn't a character. Neighborhood make-believe ladies. Operas, guests. I'm trying to find the name of that one gal. David Newell, Betty Aberlin. Lady Aberlin. Yeah, that's her, Lady Aberlin. I did not realize that was her name. I thought she had just a regular name, but she was Lady Aberlin on the show. King Friday's niece, and frequently the main character of the segments, often the only full-size character in the neighborhood segments. She acts as if something of a level-headed older sister to the puppets and audience alike, and an audience surrogate. Hey, surrogate, look out. Hey, now. Hey, we'll have none of that. She can occasionally be seen dancing around the neighborhood whenever she's by herself, sometimes nicknamed Lady A. She was one of Betty's bridesmaids, along with Lady Elaine for Betty and James. Well, I don't care about the backstory. I so don't care about the backstory. Lady Elaine Fairchild. Let me see if... Well, here, Lady Elaine Fairchild. Oh, by the way, all of these are performed by Fred Rogers. King Friday, Queen Sarah Saturday, Prince Tuesday. Prince Tuesday not performed by Fred Rogers. X the Owl, Henrietta Pussycat. You can always tell the Fred Rogers characters. Henrietta Pussycat, she freaked me out because she would put meow into words. Meow, 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 likes you, meow, meow. Okay, we get it. Lady Elaine Fairchild, outspoken, cranky schemer who moved to the neighborhood from someplace else to run the museum go-round after the frogs moved out in early 1969. Lady Elaine was often known to say, "Okay, toots," and is generally the antagonist when a storyline calls for one. One of her prized possessions is her boomerang, toomerang, zoomerang, with which she can turn the neighborhood upside down. Although a frequent antagonist, hinted at times to hide possible insecurities, she is not portrayed as evil, but as someone who challenges authority, particularly King Friday's authority, as she often has arguments with the king. She first appeared in episode number 5 of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, is named after Fred's adopted sister, and known to be never in the company of men. Would that be accurate? Would that... Am I right there? And not a looker. Oh, let's see. Team Brittany says, enjoyed hearing about the crayons. Got a little girl sitting here that wants all those old colors now. Well, good, Brittany. I am glad to be of help. Look, if you go back through all the old episodes, you're going to find silly string. You're going to find all sorts of stuff. I think since Team Brittany is here, I will do a show on any topic. I've done shows on ingrown toenails, nail clippers, jock straps. I mean, it doesn't matter. You double dog dare me, and I will. Fred licked himself. Self-adhesive. Fred licked himself. There we go. That is funny. Lady Aberlin. There we go. She was King Friday's voice. Well, it says here, and I'm pretty sure I believe that Fred Rogers was Friday's voice. Fred Rogers World. I want that red sweater. It does look like, well, you know, Fred came from big money. He wasn't going to have some off the rack from TJ Maxx or Cole sweater. He had, you know, from overseas, real Shetland wool, you know. Okay, you come up with something and double dog dare me. There we go. Well, it's 7:01. Nobody, as usual, has taken advantage of the link being put up. We made a total of 99 cents today. Actually, just to be fair, we've made 69 cents because YouTube is going to take 30% of that. So, you know. There are shows where people light their flatulence that make more than I do. And I'm here performing a public service. Okay, well, tomorrow is an episode you won't want to miss of the Tom Gulley Show. And that is because tomorrow's show is on the topic of self-checkout. And I am going to lose my mind and melt down during that show. Because, come on. No, I said 69 or 70. I think. 99, 30% of 100 make it 70. So 69 or 70 cents. If I misspoke, I apologize. Or maybe I was just dreaming that it was 79 cents. Maybe that was just a far off dream. Anyway, so tomorrow's episode is about self-checkout, which is just wrong. Self-checkout is wrong. So I've got to go watch Melanie Little now with Team Brittany. And I think with all that being said, tomorrow is going to be, like I said, self-checkout. I might do candy corn on Wednesday since we're on Thanksgiving. I thought I had done that once before, but maybe not. Anyway, with all that being said, I guess the only thing left to say is, till next time, we'll see you next time. We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking